Oceangate, Stockton Rush, Narcissist. We now continue by hearing from people who knew Stockton Rush when he was at university. Friends are remembering Stockton Rush, who graduated in 1984, as a dreamer and a doer, an intelligent innovator and rigorous scientist whose adventurous spirit showed itself during his years at Princeton. Charlie and I are mourning the loss of an irrepressible, irreverent, and fiercely loyal friend, Eleanor Mosley Polnow wrote in a statement with her husband Charlie Polnow, who was Rush's freshman roommate and remained close friends. Pausing there. He's described as irrepressible. Might that be that he would not take kindly to any restriction on his need for control? He's also described as irreverent. Could that underpin a haughty and dismissive personality? He's also described as fiercely loyal. Is this something whereby he's demonstrating emotional empathy for those friends, showing accountability for the friendship, or is that just a manifestation of a particular facade? He had remained friends with someone for some nearly 40 years. That demonstrates accountability to the friendship. Stockton chose his path and pursued his dreams with passion. He loved and was loved. He lived the life he wanted, and it was a good life. A big life. We will miss him. Criticism has been levelled at Rush over the safety and structural soundness of the submersible Titan, but his friends say they're grieving the kind and gregarious man who had an easy laugh and was prone to giving big, strong hugs at reunions. This description of him suggests that with kindness comes emotional empathy, or was it cognitive empathy? Ask anyone in my Princeton University class of 1984 which one of us would be brave enough to dare such a mission, and Tock would be at top of the list. Henry Payne wrote in a blog post about his friend, Tock lived to conquer those risks. He and his fellow passengers died doing what they loved. This description of Stockton Rush, is it the case that he was naturally brave and therefore was able to take risks, or did his bravery stem from a desire to assert control and a recklessness with regard to the issue of risk? I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything, Rush told CBS Sunday Morning last year. At some point, you're going to take some risk, and it really is a risk-reward question. I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules. This oft-quoted observation by Mr. Rush has been shown to portray him in a reckless light, an individual who thinks nothing of breaking the rules, doing what he wants, and pouring scorn on the issue of safety. That is one interpretation that could be placed upon it. However, Rush's friends said that quote has been used to misrepresent his joie de vivre, outlook on life, and that the message of his quote was likely more along the lines of encouraging people to live their lives and not be afraid. Of course, a narcissist could portray joie de vivre, which is emanating from narcissistic tendencies, but they might be correct in suggesting that it wasn't about a flagrant disregard for safety, but instead saying, get on and live your life. History shows us that exploration and innovation are inherently risky and dangerous, a group of alumni wrote in a statement, styling it proud and grieving friends of Tock. We're disappointed, if not entirely surprised, at the outpouring of armchair quarterbacking about the science behind his work. Responding to reports of internal safety concerns at Oceangate, Rush's co-founder, who left the company in 2013, told the UK's Time Radio that there are many different opinions within the small deep-sea exploration community about how to design submersibles. I know from first-hand experience that we were extremely committed to safety, and risk mitigation was a key part of the company culture, he said. That may well be correct, but he left the company 10 years ago. It might have changed in that time. Rush's love for adventure, is this the necessity of recklessness, or simply that a love of adventure, was presented from a young age. At 19 years old, he was the youngest jet transport rated pilot. His application to Princeton stated a desire to become an astronaut, but poor eyesight ended up foiling that goal. At the university, he studied aerospace engineering and flew during the summers as a DC-8 first officer for Overseas National Airways in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. He requested to take off the fall semester in 1982 so he could keep flying during the Hajj, the annual Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca that he called the largest annual mass movement in aviation. That request was ultimately withdrawn. He kept a private plane at the Princeton airport, and friends recounted adventures they took with Rush at the wheel. That certainly shows privilege, and it might be grandiosity also. David Seibert said one of the greatest adventures of his life was a last-minute flight with Rush and 2 others to Cape Canaveral to see the launch of the Columbia Space Shuttle in April 1981. Rush flew them through the night in one direction and through rain and turbulence in the other. He just seemed calmed and poised beyond his age. Nothing really rattled him. Is this his innate bravery? Or might there be something else there whereby he didn't exhibit fear? Another friend who flew with Rush on his private plane during college remembered the feelings of trust and safety she felt on board. He cared for people deeply, and he wouldn't want to put me in a position where I was unsafe. Is this a facade, or could this be seen as actually being genuine? If so, that demonstrates accountability. It also shows emotional empathy for those around him. After graduation, Rush worked for the McDonnell Douglas Corporation as a flight test engineer. He served on the board of Blueview Technologies, was chairman of Remote Control Technologies, and was a trustee of the Museum of Flight in Seattle before founding Oceangate in 2009. Rush married Wendy Vale Rush in 1986, and they had 2 children, Ben, who also attended Princeton, graduating in 2011, and Quincy. Toc's pursuit of his dreams was inspiring. His ability to live those dreams and his encouragement and his examples helped others chase and attain theirs, wrote the proud and grieving friends of Toc. He challenged himself to reach new heights and was constantly seeking the betterment of the earth and its oceans. The world lost a wonderful adventurer, Seibert said. There, ringing praise and endorsements for Mr. Rush. That seems to suggest that he was an individual that was much admired, well regarded, and potentially exhibiting emotional empathy for those around him. It also suggests that whilst he was an adventurer, he did so with a degree of accountability. And therefore, that is interesting insight from people that knew him. Naturally, of course, these are individuals that knew him many years ago, although one of them was reported to have remained friends for him some near 40 years. One also has to take into account, of course, the possibility that people are speaking well of him because he has now died. But we mustn't discount the fact that these views from people who actually knew him do speak of him in a well-regarded manner, and that is important to make note of. Join me in part 4 as we continue the analysis of Stockton Rush.